Hi everyone!
Hello.
It's Nicole.
And Jen Jen.
We're here with another video.
And we're going to review a book.
We're going to review this book right here. Outlander by Diana Gabaldon. We're talking about some spoilers here, people.
Yeah, major spoiler alert now. If you don't want to be spoiled, just stop.
Just stop. Book reviews are hard for me. I don't know what I want to say.
I have a lot of things to say. So, I guess we should start off that we started budding reading this January 2nd with, let's see if I can get them right. So, Jessica, Krista, Julie, Samantha Leanne, and then it was the two of us, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was all of us. So, out of the 7 that started, only 3 of us finished.
Yeah.
So, a lot of DNFers.
No, 4 of us. 4 of us finished. Me, Jen, Samantha Leanne, and Krista. We were the ones that finished.
We trunked
Julie,
to the end.
Jessica, and Christina DNF'd it for a good reason. I mean, they had valid reasons.
Okay, can I just say that when you guys were just like, you guys should keep going, give it a little bit more, and I was like, yeah, that makes sense. And they're like, I don't think this is going to get any better. And then it would start to get better, and I knew at one point that something was going to come up, and I was just like, this is going to hit, and they're just not coming back. And it was the chapter before it hit where they were like, I'm out. And I was like, you picked a good chapter to go out on because it just...
Honestly, when I was thinking, like, oh, just give it a little bit more, I was thinking,
about
like,
that stuff.
I was thinking about books. Like, give it more books. Because, yeah, I mean, I know the series as a whole because this was a reread for me.
I'd never read it. I'd watched the TV show, though.
I like the series as a whole. Jamie and Claire are my OTP. I ship them to the ends of the earth.
After the TV show, I was just like, go everywhere. You two are meant to be.
And I think it's just because of the actors. The actors have just great chemistry. I need them to be together in real life.
Isn't she already married, though?
I don't think so.
One of them
I don't think either of them are married.
Oh.
But I could be wrong. But I don't care. Divorce your significant other. And being a terrible human being. Let's start about what this book is about. Outlander follows Claire Randall. She is a nurse in 1945, World War II.
Mm-hmm.
And after the war ends, her and her husband kind of reunite after, obviously, the war. They were separated. And they decide to take a second honeymoon in Scotland.
Yeah, because they'd been married before the war. They separated for they didn't separate, but they were
separated because of the war.
Because of the war, that's probably a better way to say it. For 7 years.
6 years.
6 years.
in that time frame, they only saw each other 3 times.
Yeah, very briefly.
Briefly. And so obviously it's a second honeymoon. They've been married for such a long time, but they don't really know each other. So they go to Scotland, take a second honeymoon, and
part of it was to learn about Randall's past, wasn't it? Her husband's past.
His
heritage.
Yes, his heritage and his ancestry and things like that. One day, they go to a place called Craignadoon. They're the Standing Stones, kind of like, Stonehenge, but in Scotland. Yeah. And Claire hears this buzzing sound.
Goes to the stones, 1743, Scotland. She runs into her husband's,
great-grandfather, Captain
Dillhole Randall.
Jack Wolverton Dillhole Randall. And looks exactly like him.
Yeah.
Exactly. So she's like, oh, Frank, how are you doing? And then he's dressed in red coat variety.
And like, who the hell are you?
Who is Frank? And I was like, and she's like, you're not Frank. And he's like, no, madam, I'm not. And then proceeds to try and rape her. Yeah. So a lot of, rape happens in this book. So trigger warning, if you are uncomfortable with that, there is a lot. And
it's not necessarily that it always goes through, but it always is a potential that could happen. And it was just
it's a lot of men being handsy because in 1743,
that's how they
there
felt
was
they could
no
act.
fucking such thing as consent. There was no such thing. But okay. Anyway, that's another thing we'll talk about.
Side note. We'll get to that after we go through the review of the book.
She then, after she escapes from Randall, gets not necessarily saved / taken from the Clan Mackenzie. And there you meet a whole bunch of people. Most important person
is a 24-year-old hot Scottish man named Jamie Fraser.
Jamie.
Well, wait, no, they don't call him Jamie Fraser at first. What is his name?
Tavish?
McTavish, maybe. I don't know. In the long run, it's Jamie Fraser.
Jamie Fraser. And
he dislocated his shoulder.
Since she's a nurse, she knows how to heal things, and they were doing it wrong. So she's like, "Let me fucking do this for you, because otherwise you're gonna break his arm." And so pops his shoulder back into place.
It was very graphic. Some of those like medical moments were very like word for word to the point where I was just like, "Oh, my shoulder hurts, and it's not even me," and I'm just like.
Anyway, she fixes him. They obviously take her back to their castle, and she becomes kind of the doctor there.
Yeah.
And things ensue. She basically is trying to get back to Craignadoon so she can go back through the stones, back to her time where, you know, she's from, to her husband.
Yeah.
Crazy things happen, and you know, that's basically the book. That's the premise of the book.
Yeah.
Very brief synopsis. A lot of things about this are, I wouldn't necessarily say wrong, but they're triggering. They are, you know,
upsetting.
they're upsetting. I mean, a lot of the girls that we buddy read with, they didn't like the fact that a lot of the men were handsy. They didn't like the fact that Claire was actually, you know, people were trying to rape Claire every fucking 20 minutes. They didn't like the fact that...
First person, and then you didn't get enough of her perspective. Which sounds weird, but if you ever read the book or if you plan to read it, you'll know what it is. Because you would expect in some of these moments to have, like, more inner dialogue from her.
Yeah.
And you just don't get that. So you're just like, are you okay with it? Or are you, like, what's going through your mind mentally? Because I don't get that from you.
I feel like for an 850-page book, it does not delve deep enough in her feelings, her thought process, because you're wondering, like, why the hell is she doing this?
Yeah.
Why is she doing this? Why is she doing that?
And they don't really tell you, like, even when they do explain it, they explain it after the fact. Now, I was like, if you explain it, like, kind of beforehand why you're starting to do it,
like,
maybe it would make
she's
a little bit more
thinking
sense.
about this, and that leads her to that. You know, like, normal books are written.
Yeah.
But, so, a lot of things, you know, are triggering. They're very, you know, graphic.
Yeah, they don't necessarily hide or shy away from it. I would say, my opinion would be, if you've seen the show and you like it, you can try the book. I personally started off with the show. I think the only reason why I kept going was because I want to see how it differs from the TV show. I still want to read book 2, but I wasn't like, I have to start this right now. I think we should start it if I can get it from the audiobook.
Oh, yeah.
Audiobooking it was wonderful. This one, I think that's another reason why I kept going, because if I had to sit down and read that, I probably would have DNF'd it, to be 100% honest. The fact that I could get ready for work and still listen to it.
Like you were doing other things, and it was...
Yeah.
When I was buddy reading it with these lovely ladies...
We, like, forced ourselves into this buddy read, by the way. Thanks,
we
guys.
We did. I kind of invited myself. I was already doing a buddy read with Jessica and Christina, and then she mentioned, like, oh, maybe Jen wants to buddy read with us, and we were talking about a different one. We were talking about Outlander, though, and I was just like, we can buddy read Outlander with you, and then she...
Because I saw their books that they were going to read, and I watched that video, and so you had brought it up to me, like, do you want to read this? And I was like, is it Outlander? Because yes! And she's like, no, it wasn't.
And then Jessica was like, oh, I was talking about our buddy read, the one I'm already reading with them. But she's like, I'll ask the ladies and see. And I'm like, okay, oh my God, I'm so sorry. But yeah, we kind of muscled our way into this buddy read. And I'm glad. I did, because it did give me a new perspective on the book.
I loved all the opinions. Like,
all the opinions were
wonderful. Great. I even loved it because even after people DNF'd it, they stayed within the group chat. And then they kept responding back to what we said. And I was just like, I kind of loved that.
Yeah.
So
I really did. Getting more in depth in the book. And obviously we've talked... This is gonna be, it's not spoiler free, I'm sorry. The British, like, even though she is British, she's British.
Yeah.
The British kind of, like...
Were not good back then.
Well, they kind of go after her as a person of interest. Like, why are you with this, you know...
Where'd you come from?
Why are you with this Scottish clan? Are you loyal to the crown? And this is back during the Jacobite Rebellion. And if you know anything about, you know, Scottish history, the Jacobite Rebellion, they lost. They lost big time. And it kind of wiped the Highland culture off the map for a very long time. And her being born in 1945, she knows this. Yeah. She knows.
But my thing is, like, she knows some of it. But then, like, in the very beginning of the book, you have moments where her husband, what's his name? Frank. I was thinking Randall, and I was like, if I do that, I'm going to call him Dillhole. Although I don't like Frank either, so that's just me.
I like TV show Frank.
I just never liked his character to begin with. I thought he was shady in the TV show and
shady
in the book.
Well,
because when he was just like, you know, if you had been with someone in the 6 years we were apart, like, I would understand.
I would understand. I was just
like, what?
Are you trying to get something off your chest?
What? Like, yeah, like, speak up for now or forever hold your peace. But, like, he was telling her all about his history, and then she would just be like, look at the flowers over here.
It didn't really interest her. She's a nurse. She was into botany. She was into healing. Yeah. He was the history buff. You know, obviously it's, you know, you'd think you would want to learn stuff that interests your husband.
A little bit.
I fucking don't. But, so, hindsight, after you know she's going back in time, you're like, bitch, listen to what he's saying because you're going to need to know this. But obviously, hindsight is 20/20. Yeah. Even in the book, she's just like, I should have listened to Frank more when he was talking about stuff that was happening back then.
But she didn't realize that until, like, page, like, 600 or something, I feel like. It was way too far into it before she made the comment, like, maybe I should have paid attention a little more. And it's like, why didn't you have that thought when you first, like, realized you were in 1743? Because that happened fairly early on.
If I went back in time, I would die. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I would freaking die. So, she gets into kind of a conundrum with the British. Even though she is British, they want to know if she is a Jacobite sympathizer. And his ancestor, Jack Randall, kind of has a fixation on her. He's evil. He is evil.
Let me tell you, if you thought that Umbridge was, like, the sum of all evil, move over, Umbridge. You've got a husband. Because they are, like, one and the same, if not, he's worse. I think he's worse.
I ship it.
Did I bring it up to ship it?
I ship it.
See, that's how good it is.
That's how good it is.
They're
evil. Despicable. He is a sadist and a masochist, and it's just terrible. But anyway, someone in the Clan Mackenzie, his name is Dougal. You learn...
Dillhole Dougal.
Dillhole Dougal. A lot of men in this series are Dillholes. You will find.
Really are.
But he comes up with this brilliant idea to save her from being captured by the British and interrogated and blah, blah, blah.
That she's got to get
married.
If she was Scottish, she married someone who was Scottish, she wasn't an English woman, he wasn't liable.
Yeah. Legally.
Loophole.
There's a legal loophole, and it's explained in the book. But, so, yeah. She ends up getting married to Jamie Fraser, who shoulder she fixed. She gets married to Jamie. She's obviously... Yay! Yes, because that's my OTP. She's obviously torn because she's married. She was married in her time, but in 1743, Frank hasn't been born yet. She's technically not married. So but she loves this. Very big conflict. She obviously still loves Frank, and she has... As the marriage progresses and you get to know Jamie, and he is such a cinnamon roll, he's too precious for this world.
Why do you guys keep calling him a cinnamon roll? That's one thing I never understood. What does that mean?
He's just so sweet.
Okay.
So sweet. She starts to love him. She falls in love with him. She realizes she's
close to
Cragnadoon, and she's like, I can make it from here. It's like 2 miles. And so she leaves and runs, and she gets almost there. And then she gets captured by the Redcoats. And they take her back to a Fort William?
I think so.
Fort Wentworth? Something like
Fort Wentworth.
And she runs into none other than Captain Jack Randall. And he was trying to get her from the beginning because she was a person. Yeah, she was
almost rabiesing.
She was a person of interest. And to try and get her to talk, Captain Jack Randall beats her, tries to rape her. And then, right when he's about to rape her, Jamie kind of busts through the window with a pistol and says, get your hands off my wife.
Keep reading, the pistol's not even loaded.
Pistol's not even loaded. He goes in there, he has for reasons. Pistol's not even loaded. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Saves her, and then he is pissed.
And she's
pissed.
And she's pissed at him.
For good reason. For a good reason. Because she did a very bad thing. I understand why she did it. I understand. She wants to get back to her time. She, doesn't realize she loves Jamie yet. She's trying to get back to Frank. I get it. But she was caught. And everybody's lives were in danger because she did that.
There are so many people. They could have lost so many people
trying to
They
rescue
were lucky
her.
that they all got out alive.
And then she's mad at him.
Yeah.
She is mad at him.
That's, I think, why I was just like, you hit her. Hit her hard. Teach her a lesson. I don't condone violence, but in this book, when she was, like, really upset with him, I was like, and it sounded like he was backing down and trying to apologize to her. And I was like, no, you do not apologize to her in that moment because she is at fault. She's so at fault in so many ways.
She made a bad decision.
Oh, that killed me.
Yeah. He like, kind of broke down. He's like, he obviously doesn't want to fight, but he's mad. And he loves this woman. And he's like, I went in there to save you with nothing but an empty pistol in my bare hands. Yeah. And he's a wanted man. We forgot.
Randall. Bye, Randall.
He's a wanted man for murder.
Beat him.
That he didn't even do.
Yeah.
But
Randall whipped him within an inch of his life. Twice. And he still went in there after her.
That quote, it's an exact quote. He's like, I went in there to save you with nothing but an empty pistol in my bare hands. And that is so sexy to me. Moving on. And
yeah, we could get stuck on that
downward spiral. And, it's just, and she's mad at him. She's mad at him. And I'm like, girl, stop while you're ahead. Take your punishment like a big girl. Because you done fucked up. You fucked up.
You guys were so offended by that, and I honestly did not say it at the time, but I was just like, I was glad that he did it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I was just like, you said that you were going to do this if she didn't listen to you. She knew, like, you guys are both aware that she's from the future. She understands that she's not in the right time zone, like, or not time zone, but, like, time of life. She had to, there has to be consequences. Something has to snap her out of it. So
I totally agree with you.
And I didn't see it as like a beating. Maybe that's how I read it. I didn't read that he ended up spanking her, that he like beat her with an inch of her life.
He spanked her because she ended up putting the clan in danger.
And they didn't trust her, and they were upset with her.
They didn't trust her anymore.
And he said that if you did not stay where you were at, I was going to like smack your ass, and he did.
He ended up, spanking her.
I love the next
not
day,
in the good way.
The next day where she was like, I was so sorry, but like, these people would get off their horse. Like, it was everyone that like respected that she had taken it, and they were I'm gonna go to the bathroom, like giving her little breaks here and there. Like, it was nice that they, like, there was kind of not a hostility before he had done it, but there just wasn't. There was a lack of trust.
There was a lack of trust because she was selfish and she put the men in danger, because what she did was very selfish, and it did put a lot of men's lives in danger.
Yeah.
And being a Scot in that time, you're basically under scrutiny.
Yeah.
Especially if you're trying to break into a British compound and save someone. So the fact that she put them in that situation, they got out okay.
Yeah.
But, it put them in a very... It could have gone way worse. And they're forever under a scrutinized light just because of their involvement in that.
Yeah.
And so he's like, I have to punish you. Eventually, fast forward, she goes on trial for witchcraft.
Oh, yeah.
And because she knows things, obviously, Jamie, being the magnanimous savior that he is, saves her again.
He does that a lot.
Again! Saves her again. She finally comes clean about everything. I'm from the future. Yeah. This is what happened. Blah-de-blah-de-blah. And he's like, oh my God. He believes her. He believes her. Then he takes her back to Craignadoon and says,
you don't belong here. In a loving way.
In a loving way. You don't belong here. Go back to your time. Go back to Frank.
Like, I'll move on.
I'm going to
go down to this cottage at the bottom of the hill so that I know that you get there safely.
They'll know you're safe. If you don't come back, I know you've gone and you're safe.
Yeah.
But he stayed. He's like, I want to make sure you get back to your time and that you're safe and you're happy. Because at this point, he loves her.
Yeah.
Loves her very much.
He loved her from the moment
he loved her from the beginning. So yeah, takes her back and says, go. There's nothing for you here. Go. And at this point, it makes her realize that, you know, she is in love with him. And she decides to stay.
She runs down the hill.
She runs down the hill.
Breaks to the cottage and she's like, "Where's my man?" She doesn't really say that. She finds him asleep on some hay bales and he's got like tears down his face and he's asleep and you're just like, it's so beautiful.
It is
and then
so
she like
beautiful.
goes and lays next to him. She doesn't want to wake him up, but she's like, "I'm just gonna snuggle up to you." And then he realizes she's there and he's like, "Oh my God, you're still here!" He was so excited. I was excited.
And then there's just this one quote.
Oh yeah,
that
what is that
really,
one that you guys loved?
Oh, that really touches me. And it's after she stays, and he's talking about, you know, having to let her go.
Mm-hmm.
He was saying that he prayed to God. He prayed to God for the strength, not that she would stay, that he would be strong enough to let her go.
Yeah.
And
it's just beautiful.
Some of his lines and some of his actions are just so beautiful. Pure poetry.
Yeah.
Pure poetry. They eventually build a trust.
Yeah.
No lies. No lies.
You can have secrets, but
no lies.
Don't lie. And
No
I was like,
lies.
I like that because, yes, you can have
if you
secrets.
say something,
but
let it be the truth.
Yes.
If you feel like you can't speak the truth, keep it to yourself.
Yeah.
You can have secrets, but no lies. And they come to this mutual understanding, and it creates a very big bond because obviously she didn't tell anybody else she's from the future.
Nope.
Lots of things happen. They grow in their love and their affection, and
Then he done get caught.
then he gets
Again.
caught
By Randall.
by Randall.
Dillhole Randall.
And that's when he goes into Wentworth prison. The reason why Jonathan Randall has a big hard-on for Jamie is because he wants him. He wants that ass. And he said no. So he's always like, very messed up, the one that got away.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so he's in prison. He's being tortured. Claire comes up with this brilliant idea to save him. At first doesn't work. And it kind of just makes his punishment, Jamie's punishment,
That
even
much
worse. Because she's in there and he makes a deal with Randall. You let her go and you can do whatever you want to me.
Whatever you want.
Whatever you want.
And he does.
And he does. He does.
I was so kind of happy the first time, like, they got him back. And then
I was like, you were what?
Hold on. And they had, like, a very short description where they left it up to the imagination. And I was like, phew! Because this could have gotten bad. And then, like, you wait a chapter or two, and then they went into explicit detail
of what.
And I was just like,
of what Randall did
that
to
was
Jamie.
a lot. That I...
And we're not going to go into detail here, but it was a lot. He had his way
rough.
with him, and he has post-traumatic stress.
Oh, he was like being within an inch of his life too.
Yeah.
His right hand.
His hand, yeah.
They obliterated. Just not even like you could barely even tell.
Broke every single finger.
Her first rescue attempt, it was already really shattered, and to make sure that he didn't go anywhere, he's like, "Put your hand on the table," and he did, and he took a nail and spiked his hand, and you're like, "You're not going anywhere while I take her to like get her out of here so that I can have my way with you." But it was just like,
it was very terrible. It was
Yes.
very terrible what happened to Jamie.
It was hard to read.
And the fact that he comes out of this with some semblance of sanity is miraculous.
Well, and I feel like when he was first rescued, he seemed a little bit better, and then as time went by, and he realized that he wasn't like set to die, because I think the reason why he was just
He thought he was
okay
gonna
with it,
die.
he was gonna die the next day. He's just like, "Do whatever you want with me, my wife safe, whatever." But they saved him, and it took him a while to realize that he wasn't gonna die from his
Wounds.
like
infection or anything
and
like
that's
that.
when I think he turned.
And also that you kind of have to, like, he didn't die, so you kind of have to go on with some semblance of a normal life.
Yeah.
Be a husband to your wife, which he was just sexually assaulted. So
He's like, "I'm not.
I cannot be a husband to you.
Mm-mm.
I can't." And so it's like, it's very heartbreaking.
Oh, there's more.
Very heartbreaking.
Yeah, Randall like got in his head with his wife. Like he was trying not to think about his wife, and then Randall like wasn't gonna have that. He's like, "You have to think about her in these moments while I do this to you," so that when he was with her again, he couldn't
separate the two.
And that was almost more tragic than a lot of things.
It was, because then, like, how can you even fix that? How can you even begin to fix that and have some sort of semblance of a normal life.
Yeah.
And it's very tragic, and that just shows like just how strong he is as a person.
Yeah.
He just goes through all that, and he does. He's a very strong, mentally, physically.
Excuse me.
He's a survivor. He's a savior.
Mm-hmm.
He is just seriously one of my book boyfriends. He's just so beautiful.
Yeah, I really am looking. I think the reason why I want to keep going in this series is because I want to see how he continues to get better. Because like, yes, there was a lot of time frame, and they found a way to kind of break him out of it, kind of where he starts to rebuild. But I mean that's post-traumatic stress is going to be with you
forever.
Ever.
And you also with post-traumatic stress, you don't know what's going to trigger it.
Yeah.
The littlest things can trigger it.
Yeah.
And so the fact that he's living with that and dealing with it and going on, he's a very strong character. Honestly, I love this book. I love it.
I think I gave it 3 stars, but that's because I had higher expectations because of the TV show. And all of my friends I mean, not just you, but Kim
everybody.
And Laura.
And when I first read it, it was a 5-star book. Hands down, 5-star book. Now that I've reread it, heard other people's opinions, I can see where you're coming from. I've lowered it down to a 4-star book. Honestly, still, it's just very powerful to me. Messages are very transcendent. It's honestly a series that I think you should read. It's very daunting. The books are huge.
They are huge.
And if you find you can't...
The audiobook was 32 hours. And even on like 1.5 speed, like there was one chapter where it said it was going to be 2 hours long, and I was like, okay. I knew I was going to finish this chapter at like 11:30, so I stayed up to do it. And then I kept like waiting for the chapter to end, and I was like, okay, I thought it said there was only going to be like 5 minutes left. And I check it, and it goes on for another hour. So one chapter is literally 3 hours of the audiobook.
Yeah.
It's insane. That's a tenth of the audiobook. A tenth of the audiobook. Sorry. It's just a lot.
It is a lot.
It blew my mind. It did it twice to me, too.
And if you get through the first book and you feel like you can't, you DNF the first book, I urge you to watch the TV show.
Oh, yeah. If anything, watch the TV show.
If anything, watch the
do
TV
it
show.
better.
If you do nothing else, watch the TV show.
Yeah.
It's so great. It's wonderful.
It's the one time, very rarely will you hear anyone that reads books say the show is better than the book. But this is one of them where I think all of us unanimously agreed that, wow, the book was...
I think they just did such
not
a
up
great
to
job
par.
with it. Casting, the actors are just fantastic. They take out what was unnecessary. They input stuff that gives meaning to the show.
Yeah, and they made her
into the story as a whole.
Character, I feel like. And I feel like even though, because, yeah, first-person narrative, you should be more into her head. I feel like you got that from the TV show without her having to say it. Like, it was just, I don't know, maybe visually, I'm much more of a visual person anyway, so maybe that was why it got me, but...
I loved it. I really do love it. Just as an entity. Outlander, the entity, I love it.
I'm looking forward to continuing.
Yeah, so that's basically all we're going to talk about in this review.
There's so much more that we could, but...
I mean, it's an 850-page book. Obviously, we can go on for
barely
hours.
The surface.
But
even with all these spoilers.
Yeah, it's a very rough kind of overview. If you've read it and you want to talk about it, leave us a comment. Leave us a comment. We love to chat about it with you. Like my video if you did, and subscribe to my channel if you're new. And you can follow me on all the social media platforms, which will be in the description box below. We'll see you next time, Avid Readers.
Bye, guys.